Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and it is always a phenomenal day when we have our friends in from the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial. Joining us is Neil O'Connell, the executive director, and his colleague Rebecca Evleth, she's special events and volunteer program manager. Neil and Rebecca, always good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Drew. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having us back in.
Absolutely. Joined by my associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show. He's been a stalwart with Cloudcast Media, and that's Brandon Joe. Also has his own nonprofit that he works with called Treasure Hacks as he's finishing up his junior year at UCSD. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing well.
That's good. Thank you for joining me. We'll start with you, Neil, for the 0 people in the audience that have never heard of what you folks are doing. What's the mission of the memorial?
The mission of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial is to honor and preserve the legacy of our veterans, and by doing so, working with the community leaders and collaborating with various organizations to educate the public, to thank those veterans and to learn of the sacrifices that they made so that we may enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today as Americans.
And what I love about the uniqueness of your place is that it's not just for those who have passed on. You celebrate those that are still living.
Absolutely. We're privileged to have a beautiful, beautiful view here in San Diego atop Mount Soledad, a memorial that has 16 walls with over 6,600 plaques that tell the stories of veterans living and deceased. About 20% of the veterans on the walls are still with us, which
great.
Makes for a nice tribute for them with their family members, their relatives, especially the younger children they have in their families.
Before we chat with Rebecca about the 4th annual Women's History Tribute in Brunch, share with me, we were talking about before the show started about a nice presentation you had for John Basilone.
The John Basilone ceremony took place on the anniversary of the landing of Iwo Jima, 19 February 2025. It was the 80th anniversary. And the history of John Basilone comes right out of the 1st Marine Division at a beautiful Camp Pendleton right up the street here, as everybody, particularly west of the Mississippi and beyond, came to the West Coast for deployment into the Pacific Theater. In fact, Drew, you've got a very, very close connection here with your dad, who was a doctor, U.S. Navy doctor serving with the 1st Marine Division on Guadalcanal.
That's right.
Well, during that bloody battle, then Sergeant Basilone was, due to his actions, was awarded the Medal of Honor. And he came back to the States, and unfortunately, he got put into a position he didn't particularly care for. He had to go out and rally the country and kind of be the poster child somewhat for patriotism. And it drew a lot of attention to him and his family that he'd rather had not been involved with. But fast forward, he said, I've got to get back with my boys. I've got to get out back into the theater. And he did deploy again with the Marines, this time with the 5th Marine Division. I believe it was the 26th Regiment. And he was mortally wounded on Iwo Jima after about 6 hours of battle. In that time, they awarded him posthumously the Navy Cross. On the 19th, we had the Little Italy Association with us, the MCRD Museum Association. We had friends from the 1st Marine Division come down and visit with us, and we presented a plaque to the division as well as the 1st Marine Division Association. This was just a very stirring 45, 50-minute gathering. And so you can now see John Basilone's plaque. It's on the northeast corner of, the northeast side of the wall and the walls. And it is It's a beautifully designed plaque. Nathaniel Donnelly helped us work that, and another Marine who's volunteering for us. And it's absolutely a beautiful plaque.
Yeah, it was great. We thoroughly enjoyed doing a remote from last year's Memorial Day up there. And I'm going to ask Brandon, who is co-hosting with me today. And Brandon, as mentioned, associate producer, Cloudcast Media. But as a UCSD student, tell me how impressive that memorial was when you first saw it.
Oh my God. When we first drove up to the hill, I'm like, oh wow, this just keeps going up. When we got to the top, it was cloudy that day,
right?
But still, it opened up a little bit at the end, and I took just like a panoramic view of just moving and looking. It was beautiful. I don't think I've seen a better view in San Diego. You can see literally all of San Diego from the beach all the way down to the east, to the north, south. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
And what a tribute to all the men and women that are honored at the memorial as well. Yeah.
And I'm just a little bit curious. The young person in the room, may I ask when or why John Besselin was awarded the
Navy Cross,
or at least the Navy Cross, and then also the honor before that?
Yeah,
he received the Medal of Honor while serving as a sergeant. At that time, with 3rd Battalion, with the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines Charlie Company, which has a call sign moniker of Suicide Charlie. In that particular battalion, in that company, the entire 1st Marine Division, who was deployed into Guadalcanal, was in intense combat. At that time, Sergeant Bassalone manned his machine gun and held off the enemy assaults numerous times, wounded, then went on to fight hand-to-hand combat, utilizing his own pistol, utilizing other weapons that are on the ground, picking up anything he could to repel the enemy's assault, and ended up saving his Marines who were behind him. He rushed the attacking enemy and came in and ended up holding their ground. So those courageous actions and just that particular intense combat at the time, Brandon, his commanding officer put him in for the Medal of Honor. At that time, his battalion CO was a legendary Marine called Chesty Puller, and who went on to do unbelievable things and lead our Marine battalions and regiments, and very historical in World War II in Korea.
Wow.
Yeah. But the remarkable thing, Brandon, is when he came home to the States, like I mentioned earlier, he ended up wanting to get back with his men. He didn't care to be stateside when everybody, because these were 2 or 3 year tours. It wasn't like today where you come back about every 12 months or 13 months or get an extension. These young men at that time, between 17 and 20 years old, some were turning 17 when they were transiting the Pacific, and he wanted to get back, and he did get back. But there's a small, really untold story that his nickname is Manila John. And that came from his earliest service in the United States Army in the Philippines.
Wow.
And what he did for extra money this is before the attack on Pearl Harbor, before in the Philippines, he was a prize fighter. He'd go out with his soldiers and the guys and do a little boxing and bring in some dough.
No, it's funny. Actually, my dad boxed in the Navy as well.
There you go.
As a heavyweight. So there is some...
you never know there, Drew. They may have had a little bit of...
They could have fought
training.
each other for that. Yeah, exactly. We're chatting with Neil O'Connell. He's the executive director of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, joined by his colleague, Rebecca Evleth. She is the Special Events and Volunteer Program Manager. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of just doing great things in San Diego County. Brandon, I know you have a question for Rebecca.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that for me. And then I'd like to ask a little bit more about the 4th Annual Women's History Tribute and Brunch. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So, like you said, it's the 4th annual brunch. The first year we honored Sue Young. She was a captain in the Navy. The second year, we had Randy Tidmore. She was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. And then last year, we had Holly Schaffner, and she's a lieutenant commander in the Coast Guard. And so this year, we have Evelyn Jean Wright. She's 95 years young, and she was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. So we're trying to have a different theme every year for our women's brunch, and we have a full house. We're doing really well with. We have a limited space up there, as you guys know,
right?
And so we have just about every seat filled.
Congratulations!
Yes, I know it's
awesome.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, it's great. That's a great thing to shine a light on this aspect of it. You do so much in this area as well. And I really think that, and we've talked about this before, Neil, you are laser beamed and you're very proud of the relationship you have with the schools and making sure that school tours come up there. But you will also visit schools, will you not?
Absolutely. This is something that's got a little more attention lately.
Right.
And I'll be very frank with you. I'm glad you brought this up, Drew,
Yeah.
because right now we have about 30 students coming up. They said rain or shine. They're school teachers and the chaperones and a couple of parents are going up there right now for a 1-hour tour. They insisted, didn't matter the weather. So our goal really for 2024 and now 25 and beyond is to really emphasize and make more impact by bringing our young students up there from school age all the way up through high school and, college students like Brandon.
Yeah, no, you can't do enough of that, and you know this. And I think, working with whether it's the County Office of Education, which we have a strong relationship with, as you know, and which works with all 43 school districts, absolutely is a must. And I think, like with Brandon, I could be wrong on this. I think it was the first time he had been up to the memorial, and he's saying yes. Wow, this is in my backyard, for God's sake, And anyone who's doesn't go up there, obviously you're impressed with the beauty of the place and the view, but it's what you guys are celebrating, which is just huge. And we know it makes all the sense in the world to do that. So, whatever we can do, can continue to shout that out.
Thank you, Drew.
Is something that is really critical on this. Neil, talk a little bit about you've been in the position for how long now?
My gosh, it seems like for quite some time now, but. As the executive director here, 5 years.
5 years, okay. And Rebecca, how long have you been involved?
for 4 years.
For 4 years,
Yes.
right. And what you folks have accomplished, every time I turn around, there's something new that you're adding, whether it's now, the bricks you can buy. I did buy a brick for my dad. It's in there somewhere. So I got to go up there and see that. To all the different events you do, to all, working with all the schools in this aspect of it. I mean, I'm not sure how you're doing with such a limited, staff in this area. And you guys, one, it's a job of passion for both of you, to say the least. I mean, you love doing this. But let me ask you this. Think about what our listeners can do. We usually save this for the second half of the interview, but I want to share it right now. What can our listeners do to support what you're doing?
There are no government funding programs here, grants or anything. It's all private funding.
Right.
All private funding. We rely on membership. We rely on donations and corporate sponsorship of our events. In fact, I'm going to shout out to Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser is now pledged to, and they have been supporting us for, 4 or 5 years now. All of our legacy events, our Women's Brunch, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the Wounded Warrior Project, as well has involved themselves. Our 3 Strategic Solutions group out of San Diego here. Those are just Patriot Engineering. But the main thing is, Drew, is year after year after year, for us to sustain the memorial, maintain its beauty, as well as operate and run and manage these programs that deliver impact in community, we rely on fundraising. So folks that may be inclined to give at this time of year, any amounts are always much appreciated. We did a year-end campaign that helped us springboard right into this event, as well and to set ourselves up for the rest of the year. But there's always that competition, as well as the dollars of philanthropists to be able to find causes that are close, nearest and dearest to their heart.
Yeah. When we come back from break, Neil, let's talk about some of those amazing numbers that you have. Certainly in how successful 2024 was, but leading even before that as well. When we return with Neil O'Connell, Executive Director of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, joined by his colleague Rebecca Evleth, Special Events and Volunteer Program Manager. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. This is another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are now in our 19th year. We're the longest-running community podcast in the nation, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades plus of doing great things in the community, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's supporting literacy, whether it's financial literacy, arts, and all that business. They are just great community leaders. As we chat again with Neil O'Connell, Executive Director of Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, and Rebecca Evleth, Special Events and Volunteer Program Manager. We were talking right before break, Neil, on the numbers of people that visit, the folks that you shout, out at the memorial. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a high five, at least virtually, to Roger Doherty of Kaiser Permanente for what he's doing as well. Talk about some of those numbers.
Well, this year, 2024, set a record for us in all areas of impact. I'll start right up front with our docents involving themselves on a daily basis. And in a lot of the cases, it's rain or shine to a certain degree. Over 300,000 visitors, Drew, and that is collected on a weekly basis. That's tracked by Rebecca and her team of volunteers. 300,000 visitors, of which many come from around the world. San Diego is a wonderful tourist destination, and we draw a lot of folks, also from around the United States. And what those people experience at the memorial is just like Brandon described, and you yourself and Charles and your team. They're very, very inspired by what they see and what they're embracing, and understanding that there is no charge at all here. Going back to how we sustain this, this is a open to the public, beautiful, beautiful location. There is no charge to be at that memorial. We have right now 6,600 plaques. We're on a pretty good run right now. People are very interested in obtaining plaques. So if folks out there are serious about it, give us a call. We can help you. Rebecca managed over 80 events last year.
Wow.
Of the 80 events, we did the math. We all sat around. We did a little brainstorming on how many people attended those events and then the impact that made, and whether it was honoring veterans, the living and deceased, on a Memorial Day program. And that 80 events equated to over 22,000 people in attendance sitting at the memorial, not just passerbys coming and going. The wonderful thing, too, about it, which hits home with you, is our education program. We're at about 450. Now, we're in our infancy here. We're not on capacity such as the museums in the Midway.
Right.
However, we're getting there. We do have our, our limitations on how to manage it, but we're making it happen. Case in point, this morning we'll have 35 students up there. Our volunteers are very generous with their time. They do exorbitant amount of work for us. We're with about 72 volunteers on any given quarter of the year. And then our members. We continually recruit folks from the lowest level of membership at $50 to the top level, top tiers in our donors. But collectively, what does that do here in the broader sense of, what is the reality of this in terms of impact? We have an enormous opportunity here to tell the stories of these veterans, these young men and women. If you go back and your point when you showed us a picture of your dad, a young medical officer, probably about 26 years old, in a brutal combat situation. And Drew, we're going to get that plaque up there.
yeah, Drew's got to get.
Because we want to tell his story. It's important.
Yeah, happy
and
to do that.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
But the other aspect is if we didn't do this, think about it. Who else is going to tell their stories?
Well, and I think that's the whole thing. Certainly the business we're in, Cloudcast Media, we're storytellers, and we love telling stories from every walk of life, whether it's the military, whether it's education, whether it's women CEOs, whether it's students having a voice. We're laser beamed on students doing podcasts. And Charles really did a nice job in elevating that. So there's a lot more. Charles and I are always talking about how do we expand things, and especially we're big fans of the memorial and you, Neil, and Rebecca, and so forth. So there are other ways that we can sit there and try to tie in to doing some more podcasts with actually students, maybe even taking somebody that's on the plaques and doing a little history and a narrative on it or something like that. There's just so much to do. The point being, we're at a time in our history. We're still in infancy as a country compared to some of the other ones, to say the least, where I think we really need to continue to elevate the importance of the military and our history. Certainly San Diego is the poster child for it, largest military port in the country, of course. But these are the opportunities to tell these stories, and I think that's terrific. I think one of the things, I'll start with you on this and think about this yourself, Rebecca. Is there anything that comes to mind? This is not really a fair question because you probably mentioned 7,500 of these things, but really stands out about somebody that has seen the memorial for the first time and were wowed by it. Does anything come to mind?
Oh my gosh, there's so many stories of that people come up and they're just amazed. And some people they've lived in San Diego their entire lives, and they've never been up there. And they come up there for the first time like, I can't believe I've never been here before.
Right.
And
But if any sit there and go, and they're walking around and they see, my goodness, I didn't realize my uncle was up here. Did you hear those stories at all?
I personally have not heard that, where they didn't know that their family member was up there, but I'm sure it probably happens. If you ask the docents, I'm sure that they have so many stories of.
Yeah, what we should do, Neil? We need to get a docent on here. You got it, and talk about what their experience in on this aspect of it. Can anyone be a docent? How does that work?
Absolutely, anybody can be a docent. You've got to first have an understanding of a little bit of history. It's not a prerequisite where you've got to be a history major, but there is no requirement to be a veteran. I've had some folks, retired ladies and gentlemen, ask us, right, Becky?
Yes.
They'd like to join, but they thought they had to be a veteran to be at the memorial, and that is not required. We've got about 8 to 10 on the team, and what they enjoy is just being at the top of the hill for 3 hours a week, a very flexible schedule with another colleague, and being able to tell the story. We have a nice formal program. It's not as extensive as some of these volunteer programs that you may be involved with. It's pretty much reading the books, understanding who's on the walls, where they're located, and what significant plaques are there. 6 presidents now with John passing along. We've got 32 Medal of Honor recipients. We've got, SEALs and Marines and aviators from, every era. But right to your question, we'd love for volunteers to call us and get involved as docents. We could always use more help.
I'd love to see if Brandon. We're always putting stuff on Brandon. He now works a 25-hour day when we do these things, and the fact that he's still sticking around with us is amazing. No, but in all seriousness, because he is just the ultimate poster child for doing stuff. As he's busy enough as it is doing his work at UCSD, but heavily involved in the community as well. But it would be great to have a student up there, that is very much interested in the history of, certainly San Diego and this. Do that. We'll have Brandon think about that and see if that makes sense at all. We're chatting with Neil O'Connell. He's the executive director of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, joined by Rebecca Evleth, his colleague, the special events and volunteer program manager. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. What are some of the challenges moving forward? We know it's not inexpensive to run a business in San Diego, or running a business, period. Talk about that, Neil.
Well, this is probably something that most nonprofits experience throughout the year, on and off. You've got to sustain the programs. Sustaining the programs requires the resources, the people, the talent to manage the programs that deliver the impact that your vision you have in your sites. Right now, we've been through a great growth surge, across all fronts. If I had 3 or 4 more employees, that'd be terrific. We're getting to that point in time. It's a fine balance. I think we've found our stride in the community here. We've become more relevant. We're reaching out to all parts of the San Diego community to bring folks in. In fact, if I could just do a quick segue on this.
Please.
On Memorial Day, the last Monday of the month of May, I hope you gentlemen can be with us, we will honor one of San Diego's own, a very, very, I'd say a very touching story in Seaman Apprentice Lakiba Palmer. And Lakiba hails from Southeast San Diego. And she went on to serve in the United States Navy right out of San Diego High School. She got on a U.S. Navy destroyer here, cross-decked to the USS Cole. We go back to October 2000. The Cole was in the Gulf of Aden, pulling in to get some refueling at the right there at Pierside, and a Al-Qaeda terrorist in a dhow breached the side of that ship and put a devastating blow into it, and ended up killing 17 sailors. And Lakiba, unfortunately, lost her life right there with the rest of these young sailors. We are going to honor Lakiba on Memorial Day. Why do I want to put that out to everybody right now? For one, this is a young lady who represents a very, very, I would say, typical community that looks to advance themselves through service. Myself, coming out of, back east, it was a couple options on the table. Number one, get your butt into the military and do better. And a lot of folks have gone to do that, and they've worked hard for it. Lakiba did that. But herself and her 17 other shipmates never had the chance to take it to the next level because of this horrible terrorist attack. And that's happened since then. 2011 and 9/11 kind of overshadowed this horrible attack. And from then, it was, decades of sacrifice. But what we try to do on a regular basis is reach out to the community and host them at the memorial, build these partnerships, and ask for their support, whether it's in the form of collaboration, teaming, partnering, as well as those folks who would be so generous to be able to help us out financially.
No, I think that's terrific. And again, want to shout out what Rebecca's been involved in, the honoring women in military service, past and present. They are sold out, I think, pretty much. And we're going to do next time you folks are on, we'll do a recap on how that event went as well. 80 events. I know how you do it, Rebecca. You probably only work a 23-and-a-half-hour day in this. Neil, shout out the website if people want to get involved with you.
SoledadMemorial.org, and we're there. We'd love to have any conversation with anybody on any aspect of what we support, what we do in the community.
We're going to look forward to your return appearance. Wishing you great, nothing but success on the honoring women in the military service, past and present. Rebecca, on that and everything else you're doing, Neil, and can't wait to see you folks back in the studio.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
And you've been listening. Oh, absolutely. Always our pleasure.
Tremendous effort in the community to get those, advance our organizations, give people opportunities to help each other out.
No, please know it's our honor. As you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, we're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.